So this is a short sequence that is going to help address releasing tight muscles in the back, through the front, the abdominal muscles, into the waist, and also we're going to explore a twist. You might want to grab a cushion to support your head with when we come into side lying, but you can also rest your head on your arm. Okay, so we're going to start with a Soma scan. So Soma scan gives us an idea of how our muscles are actually holding our body in place. It gives your nervous system a sense of where you're starting out from. And we'll keep coming back to this as we practice. So lie yourself down. And just feeling and waiting for your body to adjust to being on the floor. If straight away you have any discomfort with your legs straight, if your back feels really arched, then bend your knees, place your feet on the floor. I know that's where you need to start out from today. Just take some quiet breaths. And just get a sense of if there's a difference between the right and left sides of you, the way that they make contact with the floor. You might sense that one side feels heavier or lighter or tighter. Sometimes it's quite interesting to actually bring the legs together and feel if you have one leg longer than the other. And let's start there. So just start to feel as your legs relax. Do both toes roll out? Where do you rest on the back of your calf muscles? What's the direction of your kneecaps? Where do you feel the weight as it settles through the back of your buttocks and pelvis? You can also bring your hands onto your hip crests at the front. Does one hip feel higher than the other? Like your pelvis is tipping to one side. And sense into your lower back. Is there a comfortable arch? Does your back feel relaxed, or does it feel tense and being held away from the floor? Move further up your back. Notice which parts of your rib cage are in contact with the floor. Do your shoulder blades sit comfortably on the back of your rib cage? Feel the shoulders. Do your shoulders equally rest on the floor? Notice how your arms have come to rest. How have they fallen by your side? Are you palms up? Are you palm down? Are you somewhere in between? And is there a difference between each arm? Sense up to the neck now. Notice if the back of the neck is again being held off the floor. Does it feel arched and contracted? Does the back of your neck feel long and relaxed? And where are you resting on the back of your head? Do you feel like your chin is slightly lifted, or is your head turned a little left or right? Just notice the details. These things that get missed, but they can tell us a lot about how we hold ourselves, how our body is absorbing stress and the movements that we do or don't do every day. So we're going to slide our knees up, planting feet on the floor, not too close towards your buttocks, not too far away. Just find your comfort place. We're going to practice arch and release. Bring your hands onto your lower belly. So the heels of your hands are on your hip bones. Your fingertips are on your pubic bone. Just start to breathe deeply and breathe into a relaxed belly. So really let your belly go as much as you can. And now we're going to do a pelvic tilt. And we're going to tilt the pelvis forwards. And that's going to arch your back further off the floor. And sensing the muscles in your lower back contracting here. You can sense it. Your brain can feel it too. And then you're going to slowly let that go, not by using your abdominal muscles, by releasing the contraction you feel in your back. And it may take a couple of breaths. Just breathe. Feel. It's this releasing phase. It's a lengthening phase. That's going to change the way that your brain is holding on to your muscles. And even if you think you finished the movement, just take an extra breath in and out to really let that contraction go. Okay, so we're going to breathe in, repeat that again. Try and encourage your head to roll down, encouraging your pelvis to roll forwards. Feeling this arch in your back. Take an extra breath in here, really let your belly release, and then exhaling, releasing that contraction with control. So you are regaining control of muscles that have become habitually tight. Keep relaxing here, nice and gently. The breath in and out. Okay, and then we're going to do that again. Inhaling. Noticing again if your head does voluntarily move, as your brain remembered that pattern, connecting head and pelvis along the spine. Sense the contraction in your back and keeping the belly relaxed. And we're doing this because we want to regain control of these muscles in the back. Breathing, feeling that release. Taking some extra breaths in and out here. Keep noticing if there's a little bit more to let go of. Be patient here. It's worth the wait. Still feel my back is letting go. And now we're going to reverse that movement, coming into a pelvic tuck. And we're going to do that by pressing the back into the floor. This movement is called flatten. And as you press your back into the floor, you're gently lengthening those back muscles out, but you're contracting the abdominal muscles to do that movement. And you'll feel them lift up into your hand. But your center draws in, and those abdominal muscles lift up. And then you just slowly melt that tension away with control. Keep breathing. Melting that tension out. You'll feel your back lift away from the floor. See if you can return back to your neutral. So try not to use your back muscles to release the arch. Sorry, to release the flatten. And that could look something like this. So you flattened and you release the flatten and you do that. Too quick a release, it might take you into an arch. So take a breath in and exhale, draw the back to the floor. It'll lengthen the back, your tailbone will curl gently between your legs. Pubic bone will start to tip back and up. Abdominal muscles lifting. Not trying to force the back to the floor. We're not trying to hollow out our belly either. We want to feel these muscles contract. And then gently and slowly melt that tension out. Notice how and if your head responds in any way. And then take a breath in and exhaling, contracting the abdominal muscles to flatten back to the floor and allow your chin to gently lift up to the ceiling, coordinating the movement of your head and pelvis. You might feel your shoulders gently lift as well, and that's fine too. That's all part of the pattern of contraction. So I'm melting this tension out of my belly, being really aware that I'm not using my back. In the somatics, we notice these patterns of contraction because we recognise we move as a system. The belly becomes tight, then the chest and shoulders become tight. Chest and shoulders become tight, the belly becomes tight. So we have to release the two for better functioning and more ease. Okay, so we're going to slide the legs long and just get a sense of if anything started to change with the way that we imprint the floor. So this is a very simple routine, and now we're going to come on to our side. Grab a cushion. I do actually quite like to have a cushion to support my head with. I'm just going to come this way. And we're going to practice the side bend. So when you lay on your side, just like you do when you plant your feet on the floor, just make sure that your knees aren't too curled up and they're not too far away. The back can arch if the knees are too low down. The back can round if the knees are too high up. So just find your neutral. We're looking sort of at a 90-degree angle with the knees, with the hips, and the feet underneath the knees, not moving back. So we're going to start to sense the connection of our head with the centre of the body at the waist. So if you bring your hand onto your waist, and just make sure, one last thing, just make sure that you're not rolling forwards. Your head might smush into the floor, and you're not rolling back, so you're not looking up to the ceiling. You're looking directly ahead. You feel that you're on your side. Okay, so the side bend, it starts to release the muscles through the ribs and in the waist. So we're going to take a breath in and breathe out, lift the head. And notice if you feel anything in your waist. Do you feel any contraction there? So we're going to breathe in and slowly release. And notice if the muscles in the waist release. Try that again, breath in. As you breathe out, lifting your head, and notice those waist muscles tighten. So we're regaining control of these waist muscles that can get tight. You sit cross-legged, balance babies on your hip. you lie curled up at night, if you sit on the sofa with your knees and your heels tucked under. Okay, so now we're going to connect that from the foot to the waist. So we're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, keep the knees together and lift the top foot. Try to make sure the foot doesn't go back. Feet stay over each other. And again, I'm getting into the waist there. And then slowly lower. Feel those muscles release and relax. And then we're going to do that again. So breath in. Breathing out, lift the foot. Notice how smooth your movements are. Are they jerky? Juddery? We call that sensory motor amnesia, where you've lost full or partial control of your movements. And again, notice how that is on the way down. Does your leg want to drop? Can you control that release? Let everything go there. Let's put those movements together, and I'm going to invite you to either bring the palm of your hand just above your ear. You can try your hand on the crown of your head, or even holding on to the side of your head, but just make sure when you do that, it doesn't roll you back. Okay, so we're going to take a breath in, breathing out, picking up your head, picking up your foot. So you're meeting this contraction in the center from the armpit down to the waist, and just hold this for a moment. Take an extra breath. Let your brain sense this contraction. Control the release. Completely relax there. Take another breath in. So you can breathe some space between those ribs, and as you breathe out, draw the armpit down to pick up the head, pick up the foot, sense this tension, breathe into the bottom ribs and waist, feel how they open up in contrast to these contracting, and then we'll slowly release. So remember, we pandiculate, we contract, we release. When the head and foot come down, we completely relax. So we're going to take a moment to notice, back in our Soma scan, to notice what feels different. Does that focus side, that working side, does that make contact with the floor in a different way to the non-focus side? Just notice what you feel. Notice how the breath might be moving differently in the ribs that have not been contracted, not been pandiculated, to the rib cage that has. And then we're going to do the other side. So take time to set yourself up. Remember, you don't want to be rolling backwards, forwards or backwards. You don't want your knees too high up or too low down. Notice how that arches my back. Just feeling that you find a neutral, comfortable position for your knees, though. And as you look down, you want to be able to see your toes, but not the whole of your foot. Okay, so let's rehearse this on this side. Bring your hand into your waist. Let's start with the foot this time. So take a breath in, breathing out, picking up the foot. And just notice, does the foot want to drop back? Slowly lower. And release. And just wait to see if there's a bit of a trail off at the end of that movement. Do those muscles need to have a bit more time to fully let go. Let's try that again. Breath in. You might notice as you breathe in, the pelvis just gently rock away, rock downwards. And as you breathe out, as you pick up the foot, you might notice how the pelvis rolls up. You shorten the space between the pelvis and the ribs. The bottom waist is moving into the floor as this waist contracts. So the two sides of the body need to coordinate together. That's the optimal place we were aiming for. Now slowly let this go. And as the foot lowers down, the waist lengthens. Completely relax there. Again, notice if there's a bit of a trail off at the end of that movement. Let's do this variation with the hand over the head. Take your time to feel what's comfortable for you. If you've got your hand on the side of your head, just try to make sure the elbow doesn't drop forwards. Otherwise, when you lift your head, you might actually roll forwards. And for this movement, for the purpose of this movement, we want to get into the side. So take a breath in, breathing out, picking up your head, aiming your elbow down towards the direction of your hip. Feel this. Sense that tension. Now you're going to let that tension go with control. Relaxing everything there. Breathing in. Breathing out. You might notice as the armpit comes down to the waist, as the hip lifts, the hip is trying to come up to meet the waist. So again, we're recognizing that we move as a system. We move as patterns of contraction. Slowly releasing. And relax there. You can let your arm release down for a moment. So now we're going to put those elements together. So hand coming overhead again. Breathing in. Breathe those ribs up. And as you do that, feel space between those ribs. Now we're going to close the gap. Lifting the head, lifting the foot. And just sensing this tension through the side body. Now you're going to release that with control. You may feel tension in the side of the neck. That's part of the pattern too. And relax there. Some things I see sometimes in class, I ask people to lift their head and they lift up and they keep their head kind of dropping downwards. And that just feels really not very pleasant. So try and pick up your head. Feel this contraction in the neck. Great for the side, the muscles in the side of the neck, the scalenes, the sternocleidomastoid muscles. Feeling this contraction through the side. Notice how the bottom ribs opening up and then slowly release. Do that again, breath in. This time we'll include the foot, lifting the head, lifting the foot, sensing this contraction. And let it go. How smooth can you move on this side? All right, let's move the cushion out of the way. And we'll take another revisit in our Soma scan. Do you feel as if the two sides of you have balanced out more? All right, we're going to end with a simple twist. So bringing the feet to the floor, again, not too close. Separate your feet wider than hip width. And actually for this exploration, let's bring our hands into our waist again. And we're going to let both knees go over to the right, but want to really feel the pelvis rolling. And don't force this movement, just feel where your brain takes you. And just encouraging the back on the left side and the waist to lengthen, but we're not going into a stretch. And then we're going to use these very same waist muscles. Try and notice if you put weight through your feet to roll back up. And pause there. Again, just wait for your pelvis to land. And we're going to do this again. So let's do it with an inhale. Feel the pelvis rolling and the knees will roll in. Can you allow the feet to move too? So you'll be on the inside edge of your right foot, the inside edge of your left foot and the outside edge of your right foot. Don't force the left knee down, just notice where it hangs. Can it yield to gravity? And then become aware of your head. Is it trying to roll to the side? Let's encourage it to do the counter rotation that we have in walking and letting your head roll to the left. And find a comfortable position for your arm. Let's breathe into this side. Notice if you're forcing the knees down and lifting and arching your back. You just want the ribs to stay soft. And then use these side muscles here through the ribs, through the waist to roll the pelvis back. And notice as the knees come up, pelvis rolls back. Does your head roll back to center too? Pause, breathe. Do that one more time. Same direction. Go gently, we're not forcing anything. The aim of the game is not to get the knees to the floor, it's to sense this length and release through the left side. And notice if your palms down or up, you can explore letting the palm roll up. And then rolling the pelvis back, knees come up, feet back to the floor. Let your head roll back to centre and we're going to briefly slide the legs straight. Again, notice the difference between each side of you. You might feel longer and just generally more spacious through the left side. And then bring your feet back to the floor, separate them wider than hip width, hands into the waist, so that you can feel as the pelvis and knees roll to the left, the right waist is opening. Can you move with control so that you sense that you stay within that spacious lengthening state? You're not forcing, you're not moving into a stretch. And then rolling the pelvis back to the floor. And pause here, land and relax. I notice how my head just came a little bit back from the right. So as the pelvis and knees go to the left, I'm aware of my feet, aware of my right waist and ribs beginning to open up. The left side's contracting. And I'm going to allow my head to lazily roll to the right as my pelvis, knees and feet go to the left. And I'm not forcing my knees down, I'm just letting them go to their comfort range. And then I'm rolling. So I can feel my right waist contract around the ribs, and there's some work in the abdominals as well. I'm going to pause and land. Just let all of that effort go. doing that again. Might try doing that with an inhale. So creating space through the ribs, with the breath, with the movement. Head rolling to the right, pelvis and knees. And this time I can feel that my knees are releasing with the out force. Effortlessly further over to the left. And then breathing in. Rolling the pelvis and knees back up to centre. Pausing. And then I'm going to slide my legs straight. Feel where my arms want to go. Recalling what it was like to lie on the floor at the beginning of this practice. And just getting a sense of each leg, where my heels are in contact with the floor, the direction of my toes, how each leg is making contact with the floor. And as I lay here, there's still some settling, my body's still adjusting. So I'm just staying with that process, being present, sensing my internal responses and my external responses. Feeling the weightedness through my pelvis, my buttocks. I can feel that my lower back is closer to the floor. I can feel more of my ribs in contact with the floor. Sensing my shoulders, they feel more equal. I'm aware of my arms. Feeling for where I'm resting on my arms. I'm bringing my focus to the back of my neck. My neck feels relaxed and longer. And I feel pretty centered on the back of my head. I'm just taking all of this information in. Taking in, absorbing, integrating all of my effort. I'm just effortlessly going to bring myself up and around. So I hope you enjoy exploring those simple movements. Let me know how you feel in response. Thank you.